Happy Friday! Welcome back to Drinking by My Shelf. My name is Emma and this is the Evermore Book Tag. This has basically just been full Taylor Swift week on this channel. What else did you expect? I did a full album review and reactions video on Monday, so I will link to that. But now I'm doing the Evermore Book Tag. This tag was created by Enchanted Reader. I will link to her original video below. She churned this video out within 24 hours of the album coming out, which is very impressive, so I just had to give it a go. And I am drinking my Diet Coke out of a wine glass because I'm a fancy lady. And talking of being a fancy lady, this video is very kindly sponsored by the jewelry brand Luisa, who I absolutely love. This is my second time working with them and I've got some gorgeous new pieces to show you. This is also the perfect time to be talking about Luisa because they are doing a special holiday sale at the moment, buy one get 40% off, so use my link in the description box below to go and browse their gorgeous jewellery. They do really speedy worldwide shipping, they have these beautiful ready to gift boxes, they can do personalised gift notes, so perfect Christmas present season. And if you haven't seen the video where I last talked about why I chose to work with Luisa, basically I just really like their mission. So they're this really sustainable jewellery company. They offset 100% of their carbon emissions, all the way from sourcing the materials all the way through to disposal. And they have these just gorgeous pieces that are very much designed to be worn for the rest of your life. They are long lasting, high quality pieces. And I basically haven't taken mine off since they sent them. I'm actually wearing a lot of Luisa jewellery right now, but I'm going to show you specifically the new pieces that they sent me for this video. So I am wearing here the Mecca Ring, which cost £45, and I just think it's so elegant, and I've got it stacked up here with another Luisa ring. I'm also wearing the Aki set, which cost £54. So you can kind of wear this however you want. In the picture on their website, they had them all stacked up on the same finger, and that looks gorgeous. I actually really like spreading them out a bit like this, having two on one finger, one on my thumb. I think that's quite cool, but you can really mix and match. And as you can see from how they fit with the rest of my rings, they're really stackable. So thank you very much to Luisa for making me feel extra glam while I film this video. But now let's get on and do the Evermore tag questions. Starting with track number 1, Willow, name a book that is a masterpiece. And I love that she paired masterpiece with the song Willow because I do think that song is a masterpiece. And the book I chose is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, which is one of my favourite books I've read in 2020 and also one of the first books I read this year, all the way back in January, and it really has stuck with me all year. I think this book is a masterpiece. I think that's the perfect word to describe it, and it absolutely deserved to win the Booker all on its own, I would say. This is made up of 12 interconnected stories from different perspectives, mostly women, mostly black, and it really paints a picture across the country, back through time, of different experiences of particularly black womanhood, but not limited to that. Each of the characters in here really feels like a whole real person. They are all so distinctive and brought to life, and you have such strong feelings for all of them, and it's also just really clever the way the book comes together. So at first they seem to not be related that much, but the more you read, the more you can draw out this whole spider web linking all the characters together and discovering even more about them even once you've moved on from their individual story. And it is written in an unusual experimental way. There's almost no punctuation. The words just kind of flow into each other. And sometimes I can be put off from reading books like that, but this one I found so accessible. So if you don't read much experimental literary fiction, don't let that put you off. I think this is absolutely beautiful, a book that everyone should read, and absolutely a masterpiece. Track 2 is Champagne Problems, and I wish this was champagne right now, and the question is to name a book that caught you off guard. So I had a little look at my shelves, and I think one of the books that most caught me off guard at the time I read it was Gone Girl by Gillian and Flynn. This was one of the first thrillers that I read, I think, and I didn't know what to expect. I read it on my Kindle without having read the back of the book, without having really heard any reviews. I saw it mentioned very briefly in Grazia while I was at the airport waiting to go on a flight, so I downloaded it onto my Kindle, got on the plane and read it through the night. And I was so taken off guard because I hadn't read a book before that had that kind of mid-book twist, that got that dark. I have never reread it, and I wonder if I read it now if I wouldn't find it that special, but at the time I remember literally I kept looking around the aeroplane cabin does anyone else know what I'm going through right now? I just didn't know books could get that dark and have characters who were that scheming, and it was so much fun and really kickstarted my love of the genre. I know a lot of people don't like that book, but those people suck. Track 3, Gold Rush. Name a book with a gold cover. And I looked all the way to my bookcases. I couldn't find anything that was fully gold. There was quite a lot with gold foiling, which I do always love and looks beautiful. Eventually I decided this was the book that had the most gold on the cover. So this is The Age of Life by Whitney Scharer. This is a historical fiction book that I really enjoyed, and like quite surprisingly, I didn't think it would be my kind of thing. So this is set in Paris in the 20s, and it's about the story of Lee Miller and Man Ray, who were photographers who I didn't know anything about at all. So I went into this one with absolutely no background knowledge, but I really enjoyed it. I found it really interesting learning about them developing their different photography techniques. It's mostly about Lee Miller and about her experience of being a muse when she is really an artist. So it's this kind of feminist repositioning of her. Track 4, "'Tis the Damn Season." What a tune. So for that one, it is Name a Christmas Book. And as you might know if you watched my Love-Hate challenge, my most recent one that was Christmas themed, I had not really read any Christmas books before, so I really struggled to set Emma any books for this. So if you go and watch her video, I will link to it below. I had to really rack my brains to find anything set at Christmas, and she described my approach as the Charles Dickens approach to Christmas, which is sad, 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 but it's snowing. So I really didn't have much to work on. But from that video, I read The 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss, which is a fully happy Christmas rom-com kind of book, not the kind of thing I'd really ever read before. I really enjoyed it. It made me really happy. It's the kind of thing I would have loved to watch as a movie, and I watch a lot of rom-coms as movies, so that's kind of tends to be where I prefer them. But I did think this one was really sweet, about a woman who signs up for a dating service where she gets assigned on 12 different dates with different men, and there's just a lot of fun involved. Track 5, "Tolerate It." Name a problematic book. So I've gone for a problematic book that I tolerated rather than a problematic book that I just hated and threw away. So I've got here All the Right Places by Jennifer Niven, which I know is a book a lot of people find very problematic. Basically, it is a book about two teenagers, one of them who is suffering with depression, but the book is very much about the experience of the other girl. It's about the experience of depression from the outside. It is not a book centering the person with the mental health issue, and that is why it's problematic. This would not be a useful book to read if you personally are suffering from depression at all. I really, really would not recommend that. But if you are someone who is very close to someone with depression, who loves someone with depression, then this book is a bit more relatable. I found it really beautiful, wept my way through it. I haven't reread it since I first read it, which was years ago, so I don't know if I would like it as much today, but at the time I was reading it, I read the whole thing and loved it. Then I looked online, found loads of people talking about how problematic it was, and I could really see their point, so I really, really understand their perspective. But for me personally, this was a book that I had a strong emotional reaction to. Track 6, "No Body, No Crime." My absolute favourite. Name a murder investigation book. So I've got here one that you've seen me talk about quite a lot before, The Psychology of Time Travel by Kate Mascarenhas. This is a time travel murder mystery where they are trying to solve a murder that hasn't happened yet. So it's so much fun. I absolutely love books that play with time travel, as you may know. It's set between 1967, 2017 and 2018, with a few other time periods scattered around, and we also have a female-female love story at the heart of it. It's just got everything I want in a book. Track 7, "Happiness," a book about hope. And whenever I think of books about hope, I always end up getting really, really sad books. The first book that came to my mind for this was A Little Life, which I'm going to save for a later question. But I was like, why would that be what I think of? Everyone talks about that book as being like the most bleak, sad book ever, and it's the first thing that sprang to mind for me for a book about hope. But I really do find hope in sad books. So I've chosen some different sad books. I've got here Stoner by John Williams, which is a beautiful book about hope being completely crushed. But if you want something with a slightly happier ending, I've got here The Colour Purple by Alice Walker, which again, warning, is a sad book. It begins very, very sad. A lot of terrible things happen in this, but unlike Stoner, which kind of starts hopeful and then goes downhill, this one starts at rock bottom and then a lot of wonderful things do happen, and it ends on a very joyous, hopeful note. Dorothea, a book-to-movie adaptation. I am very fussy about my book-to-movie adaptations. I actually did a video years ago, one of my first ones, I will link to it, but it's probably a bit cringe, that was called Movies That Aren't Better Than a Book, and it was all about those movies that loads of people say and like put in listicles as being better than the books they're based on. and they're just not. I almost never think that. But I do have some movies that I like on the same level as the book, and one of those is the film Bright Young Things, which is the film adaptation of the book Vile Bodies by Evelyn Waugh. This is one of my all-time favourite books, and I think the movie Bright Young Things is so great. It's such a great adaptation. It was made by Stephen Fry. It's really fun. They did change the ending and they made it more of like a film happy ending, whereas the book is a lot bleaker. And I actually watched the film first and then read the book, so I was shocked when I got to the end and was like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted to happen from this. But I think they're both really fun. You can enjoy them separately because there are lots of differences, but I think the movie captures the spirit of the book really well and is just on its own a great film. Coney Island, a book that brings back memories. I have loads of answers for this. I had so many books that bring back memories, but all of the ones that have like specific stories attached, I've definitely told those stories on this channel before. So instead I've gone for a simpler answer. I've just got Sense and Sensibility here by Jane Austen. So that just caught the light in the funniest way so you could see how sweaty my fingers are. Let's just wipe that off. Okay, Sense and Sensibility is the Jane Austen book that I have read the most times. I have reread all of them multiple times, and I'm not a rereader. Jane Austen's books are almost the only books that I have reread, and Sense and Sensibility, I have no idea. I've lost track of how many times I've read this book. It was the first one I read as a child and got really obsessed with it. When I was like 9, I used to sit in my bedroom and write poems about Marianne. I thought that I was Marianne. I really remember that. So this book has had a special place in my heart for a long time. That's another good answer for the film adaptation actually. I think that the Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet movie adaptation is like one of the best Austen adaptations that there is. So yeah, Sense and Sensibility brings back loads of memories, not like a specific story to tell you, but just memories of loving this book for decades. Track 10, Ivy, a book you can't help but love. And I honestly think that you can't help but love Dear Mrs. Bird by A.J. Pearce. This is just a delightful book. That is honestly the most perfect word to describe this. There are sad bits. It's set during the Second World War in London, so obviously a lot of sadness going on. But just to give you an example of how cheerful this book is, this is how it starts. When I first saw the advertisement in the newspaper, I thought I might actually burst. I'd had rather a cheerful day so far, despite the Luftwaffe annoying everyone by making us all late for work, and then I'd managed to get hold of an onion, which was very good news for a stew. You can't help but love it. Track 11, Cowboy Like Me, a book you didn't expect to love but you did. So this is where I'm going to talk about A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is a massive book that has been described by everyone as just 800 pages of sadness and torture. So that didn't appeal to me at all. One of my friends picked it for our book club and I was like, no way, I'm not reading that. And I very reluctantly started to read it, fully expecting to just not have finished it in time for book club and maybe just quit the book club in protest. And I ended up absolutely adoring it and giving it 5 stars and considering it one of my favourite books, and I will definitely reread it one time. It is very sad, and I understand why a lot of people won't like it. Personally, I don't agree with the torture porn assessment of it. I found it to be a really moving, meaningful and hopeful book, despite the terrible tragedies inside. But I understand not everyone will think so, and it's definitely triggering, so it's not going to be for everyone, but I didn't expect to love it, and I really did. Track 12, Long Story Short, another of my favourites from this album. I've got the shortest book I could find on my shelves, The Test by Sylvain Nouvelle. I read this one at the start of the year. It is a super short, very quick to read, dystopian, Black Mirror-esque book about the British citizenship test. I'm not going to tell you any more about it than that because there's loads of surprises in here, and I think it's a book that's best going into it when you don't know what's going to happen. It begins seeming like it is just about this man taking the citizenship test, but things get stranger and stranger, and it's a book that's really stuck with me for, like, I read it in like 45 minutes. Track 13, Marjorie, read a biography. I had to really rack my brains for this because my first instinct was I've never read a biography. Like, it's just not something I would ever read. And I was thinking for so long, and then I suddenly saw on my shelf The Adventures of Maud West, Lady Detective, which is not only a biography that I have read, it's one that I loved and gave 5 stars to. Maud West was a real detective living and working in London in the early 20th century, and Susannah Stapleton, who's the author of this book, is also kind of a character in the book trying to solve the mystery of who Maud West really is. So it's written like it's a mystery with kind of twists and cliffhangers at the end of the chapters. I just loved it so much. It was so much fun, and Maud West was quite the character. I actually did a video for work for Book Break. I will link it below. I think it's hilarious. I met up with the author and we talked about how Maud West was a master of disguise. All of these pictures are of Maud West in different disguises, and the author gave me tips that Maud West herself used to use, like putting orange peel under your lip and stuff, and basically we dressed me up using all of these props until I was fully in disguise and I look ridiculous. Track 14, Closure, your favourite last book in a series. And again, I had to really think about this one because I haven't read that many book series, but I had to choose the final book in the Princess Diaries series. And before you comment, I know there's another one. I know she then wrote another book called Royal Wedding or something, and I haven't read that yet. I will read it. But I think this still counts because it was supposed to be the final book in the series. It literally says final on it. The other one was added on later, so of the original Princess Diaries series, this is the last one. It gives you a lot of closure. It's a really fun book. It's also another one that could work for the question about books with memories attached, because I have very fond memories of reading this entire series in 24 hours with my sister. A video you may have seen, it's one of my more popular ones, but I will link it below just in case. And track 15 is of course Evermore itself. Name a book that was painful to get through. So I don't know if this means painful to get through because you were hating it so much, or painful to get through because it was so moving. Either way, I forgot to think of an answer to this question, so I'm going to think of it right now. Okay, I'm going to put a little twist on it and actually go with a prediction. I've got here Shaggy Bane by Douglas Stewart, which was this year's Booker winner, and I think it's going to be painful to get through in terms of the emotion. I've heard that it's brilliant, I'm really looking forward to reading it, but I think, much like A Little Life, I might just cry my way through it. I actually didn't cry A Little Life, but that's because I never cry at books, because I have a heart of stone. But I think this one is going to be painful in terms of a lot of painful things happening, but I think it's going to be brilliant, and I can't wait to read it. So that was the Evermore book tag. I will link to Enchanted Reader's version below. Still so impressed with her for putting that together in 24 hours. And once again, thank you to Anna Luisa for sponsoring this video. Do click my link in the description box below to go and shop their holiday sale and get some gorgeous jewelry pieces like I've got here. See you next time.
If you spend the winter all alone, yeah, 'cause I don't bleed fall, I don't bleed fall.